So we're going to talk about spiritual bypassing because Nancy, you use this term a lot. And of course, I see it a lot, but I don't tend to use that. I call it more spiritual ego. But let's talk about spiritual bypassing and because you're in the heart of the spiritual world, right, Nancy? So I want you to really describe when you say somebody is spiritually bypassing themselves or others. Share with us, like, what is your concept or your understanding of spiritual bypassing, and what is it that people need to know?
Okay, I'm very passionate about it because, yeah, being in the spiritual realm with the coaching and the healing, it's something that's so common, and most people do it unless you're some kind of person who's constantly living within your conscious awareness, and your subconscious is always in the conscious, which is pretty much impossible for most people. So this is not about dissing anyone, because I've done it. Everyone's done it somehow. It's just we can admit it, we can face it. I'm going to talk about that too, how to know you're doing it, because most of the time we don't even realize we are, especially now with the whole spiritual awakening, and it's such a big deal on the planet, and the self-help is often spiritual work and stuff, but it's not necessarily the deep spiritual work. It's the terminology that's sprinkled with fairy dust. It's the all positive vibes, no negative vibes here. It's like people wearing good vibes only t-shirts, and like, I can't buy one of those. I had one from a client, and I'm like, I can't wear this thing. I'm gonna wear it as pajamas because it's not real. I want real and raw, and spiritual bypassing is extremely harmful. So what it is when you are using, like, putting a spiritual spin on a painful or negative situation in your life so you don't feel it. We're always kind of running towards pleasure and away from pain in our lives. So obviously the danger of that is you're suppressing. And I deal a lot with people who have had physical illnesses over the last 2 and more decades. And I'm so passionate about people creating miracles in their lives and healing and allowing their innate ability to heal to come forward. But when you are constantly suppressing, that's what leads to a diagnosis. So you could get diagnosed with cancer, MS, whatever disease or dysfunction, mental illness diagnosis, all kinds of things. When we suppress, we are not living, and we're building our shadow. And the shadow part of us is the part of us that we do not see as lovable or acceptable. It's a pain body basically in our being, and that will keep growing. So as that keeps growing, then there's more pain and dysfunction and chaos in your life, in your relationships, and your ability to even love and see yourself as worthy. And that shadow part can even hide beautiful parts of you. Like, it can hide the weird parts of you that are so unique and so engaging to others and so inspiring to others, because people want to be real, people want to be raw. But when we're hiding those parts of us, we are so disconnected, and we're building pain, constantly building pain. And you see it everywhere. And it doesn't matter who you are, what titles you have, what status you are, we're all doing it at some level. So yeah, I'm a little passionate. So anyway, how about you? How do you see it in your world, Susan? Because you work with so many people too. Like, you're such a leader in the world. So
Yeah, because like I said, you and I come from really two sides of that world, but it's the two sides that really have to coexist. Like you say about the spiritual energetic community, and I think they steer away from me. They follow me, but very quietly, and they tread water because I stand for truth, and that's all it is, because the truth sets us free. And
absolutely.
so I'm basically leading the spiritual bypassers through the path to really true enlightening. And what does enlightening even mean? Because that's the thing, is that their spiritual ego is telling them that this is the truth, where it's not. It's just avoidance of pain, right? Like you said. So spiritual bypassing really is bypassing the pain we are supposed to experience in this physical life. You can't bypass your 3D. You can't.
No.
We live in 3D 24/7. Yeah. So for me, when I see it in the mindset world, let's call it the mindset world, okay? Because the spiritual energetic world don't focus enough on mindset, because they bypass the mindset. You see what I mean?
Yes.
You see that, right?
Bypassing. Mindset bypassing. Absolutely. Yeah. Which is
Right.
all tied together. Yeah.
Exactly. So the people in the mindset coaching world, it's not spiritual mindset, it's mindset bypassing. It's a whole different thing. And then even worse is I'm starting to see the coaching world use the energetic spiritual talk to market themselves in absolute ego level. This is where it gets scary, because I tend not to take people into that invisible world until they are anchored into the real world. Yeah, that's a dangerous rabbit hole. If you're not working with somebody like Nancy, like you are in jeopardy of being taken down to that rabbit hole of all question marks, right? So spiritual bypassing is just another way to win without going through the work.
Yeah.
And so spiritual bypassing, from my understanding, leads to spiritual gaslighting, which is even worse, right? Have you seen that?
Absolutely. Diminishing humanness, diminishing humanity. It's basically all judgment. People that see themselves as the gurus in our society, these super enlightened beings. I never feel grief. I never feel sadness. I'm never angry. We're labeling emotions, human emotions, as negative and positive. There's no good or bad. We are human. Just don't stay stuck. And that's when you feel to heal, you're not stuck anymore, because you are acknowledging, you are accepting, you are feeling and releasing in your own time. We're all different. There's no race here. Some people can take years to forgive someone, but as long as you are setting yourself free, eventually that is the key. Because if you're not, you're going to make yourself sick, right? So, but yeah, it's everywhere. The humanity being diminished. I mean, people will be walking down the street, they see a homeless person, and that person somehow is less divine than them. What? Like, how can they be less divine? Like, something happened in their lives, like, we need to embrace our hearts again. But when you are spiritually bypassing, you're not connected from your heart anymore. So you're more separate from others than you've ever been, because when you're in ego, basically ego taking over, you're not in your heart. If you're not intimately connected to you, you're definitely disconnected from others. You cannot see them from your heart. You cannot see them with that humanness, that empathy. And we all have empathy in us. We just need to wake it up. We need to be taught sometimes. Life has happened and can shut it down, can block your heart. But when you start spiritually bypassing, oh, wow, the separateness, the guru-ness, the enlightenment, and whatever, like all these labels, it's just crazy.
Well, you know what? You bring a really important point, Nancy, because when we use the word labels to describe something, the labels are actually a very conscious thing. I'll give you an example. I'm working with somebody right now that has severe PTSD, not only childhood sexual trauma, but child abuse from parents. I mean, on the highest levels. And she bypasses that other side of her, but it's not spiritual. She's not spiritual. She doesn't come from that world, but it's still bypassing the truth of, and one of the major work we've done is her survival, and she's mastered survival. I mean, it's incredible where she is today in her life, but what she's had to do was bypass her limitations. One of the things that we've had to teach her, or that she's had to learn, was how to embrace the body and the physiology she's been gifted by God, regardless of how imperfect, because PTSD, I'm sorry, there is a physiological change in our brains.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And so one of the things that she struggles with is feeling stupid because she can't get the words out. Her brain is jumbled. And I'm like, yeah, but let's look at the gift. Let's not, it's not about bypassing, oh, let's pretend it doesn't exist. And this is the danger. Pretending we are somebody we are not.
Yes. So common. And that's by building that shadow. The more we build that, the less we can be who we really are. We wear a mask. We wear a mask for approval. Be okay in society.
We do. So when somebody is struggling with a very serious issue like PTSD, that's a whole different ballgame. I have so much more compassion than somebody who is in the spiritual world, claiming to help others, but yet not doing the self-work, because that is, now you are consciously using information to bully people into believing something you don't even subconsciously believe. And that, to me, is on another level of karma, bad energy. That is not good. I mean, if you want shit to come into your life, and unhappiness and unfulfillment to come into your life, that is the best way to do it, by using spiritual bypassing or toxic positivity, because that leads to toxic positivity.
Oh yeah, they go hand in hand for sure. But so many people don't know they're doing it because it's so subconscious. They have no idea. Oh my gosh, like it's just so common. It's crazy. But the whole statement, life is happening for you, is true, but you can only accept that when you face the pain. If you do not face the pain and do the work, you're not going to think this is a gift. Like, as if, who would think that, being abused is a gift, or, you can use it later to help others or see it as a way to grow and thrive. But until you process that pain, how can you even tell people that life is happening for you and expect them to accept that? They can't until they at least start the process of healing. It is happening for us. Absolutely. We are here to learn and grow, but so many people can't hear that in the moment where they're just starting to go within, just starting to do the healing. Like it's that'll send them off. They'll be gone. They'll be so scared of you. Like, this has happened for you. Like, there's a gift in the abuse. You can't tell them that until they'll see that as they go. But who knows how long, right? It can take people months, it can take people years. And even when you think you're super enlightened and you're a guru, there are layers later that can come up where you need to address those layers of healing. And it's all divine timing, divine intervention, really. It is. It's when it's meant to happen, you go deeper. We're all going through ascension right now, and you can't ascend if your shadow's too heavy. If your shadow's super heavy, it's going to weigh you down. You're never going to be able to ascend until you start doing the work. Then you're going to ascend into higher levels of consciousness. It takes the work. Can't avoid it.
It is. You're right. I mean, you cannot bypass the layers that you need to go through. When we ascend, we have to go through the different layers of ascension. And one of the major layers is self-reflection, the mirror, the ability to see our shadow, the darkest side of us. And believe me, we all have it. And we cannot, we cannot, if we suppress the negatives out of our being, there's no way you could ascend, because that's fear.
That's right. It just builds the shadow. Keep suppressing, the shadow gets bigger. Then it's heavier, and then you can try to be as enlightened as you want. It's not going to happen because that shadow is like bigger than the light part of you, because you keep suppressing. And we all have shadows. We all have darkness that we've endured, or that we view as darkness. I've always seen myself as a little weird, because where I grew up, like, small community, and my friends would always tell me, you're so sensitive, and da, da, da. And the way I would dress was very eccentric, and just I'm a creative, but I always thought, oh my God, I'm so weird, like, but now I totally embrace it. I don't care. Like, I have for years. I'm like, whatever, I am who I am. But I still have a shadow to work on. My inner child still needs some addressing at times. And, we always have work to do. And that's not to be ashamed of. We're human. Don't diminish that. You're beautiful and you're amazing, and you're divine and you're human, both.
Absolutely. I think whenever I do shadow work, and shadow work is not easy. It is not easy. No. So never mind doing it on other people, doing it on ourselves is even harder. But shadow work has been the only thing I focused on since the beginning of time. So all the self-work was shadow work, but I didn't realize I was doing it. Yeah. But one of the things is, if you want to be real to others, you have to be real with yourself. You have to be able to see all your shadows. And it's scary. I'm not saying to just go right into shadow work. You need to be led in there to feel safe, because wow, it's not safe in that cave. But here's the thing. So let's name some of the signs of when you're spiritual bypassing, some of the tactics or the words that we use. Like, for example, you said, things happen for you. They don't happen to you.
Life is happening for you. And I believe that myself, but only after doing so much work. If you would have told me that as a child, after experiencing trauma and all kinds of bullying and different things, because I was such a sensitive kid, I wouldn't believe that. I think you were crazy. Like, I would think you're a cold-hearted, crazy person, because it is happening for us. Sorry if you haven't started doing the work, but you will see that if you hire a trustworthy coach or counselor or something, but it takes time to accept that. Life is not an illusion. Fear is an illusion in a lot of ways, but yet we have fear because of trauma and wounds. So if you're having fear, you need to address it. You can't run away from it. You have to address where that fear is stemming from, get to the root of it. And then you can get rid of that fear, right? That unnecessary fear. But illusion, life is an illusion. It's not real. Like, you hear that all the time. It's like, well, I feel like it's happening. I feel like I'm in a body. I feel like there's, something going on here. I can breathe. I'm breathing through my body. I feel like life is real. Like, I don't know. Life is not an illusion. So, your abuse was not an illusion. Your trauma is not an illusion. The loss of your parent was not an illusion. These are really painful things that you need to go within and heal. And we can guide you there. We're going to have a community doing that kind of work. But I mean, whoever you trust is who you need to go to. You have to trust them. Don't put them on a pedestal. No one should be on a pedestal. No one's better than you. No one's more enlightened than you could ever be. Like, no, we're all divine beings. And you have to feel in your heart who you're safe with. Your heart will tell you. Just make sure your mind is on board too. Like, they're together. It's the longest journey sometimes, but if you're just all heart, you can suck it into. So, but that takes work as well.
Absolutely. What we say is so critical because
Oh,
all those, and this is the thing with spiritual bypassing, they take all these terminologies, like you said, like things
yes.
for you, not to you, and all that. Everything is an illusion. Yes, although there are certain elements that is true, because
Yeah.
in quantum physics, in
Yeah.
quantum science,
Of
we
course,
believe
some of
that,
it, but
yeah.
your abuse was not an illusion. Like,
No.
it's when it gets to that, you're like, are you kidding me? But we can create illusions with our unrealistic thoughts and fears. We can, but if you've been traumatized somehow, for heaven's sakes, it's not an illusion. You're not less divine than anyone. You're not less enlightened. You're not like, you're a beautiful divine being no matter what's happened to you. And you have a beautiful journey to go on, to ascend, to heal. But before that, you have to descend. You have to go into that shadow. You have to do the work and you'll get there. But your life is not completely an illusion. Like, it's not, like,
No.
it just isn't. I can't stand the illusion word. Like, a little passionate, sorry, but
No, that's the truth, right? It's words, what I call my triggers. Like when I hear these things, they trigger me. Or when people used all these terminologies and they don't know what they're doing. I have
yes.
seen coaches use these terminologies on people. Oh, the best one is, well, this is your limiting belief. First of all, we've had to even define, because people have come to me all confused because of the spiritual bypassing or the mindset bypassing.
Yeah.
People have been told that this is their limiting belief. And I'm looking at them. So there's one question. So when somebody says, "Oh, you have to push through because this is a limiting belief," not everything that stops us from taking action is a limiting belief, by the way.
No, that's
Us
right.
women, we're intuitively connected. And if we don't feel right about something, it doesn't mean it's a limiting belief. It doesn't mean it's a fear. It means we're not trusting something here, right? And
That's
so
right.
from the role of the spiritual practitioner or the coach, it's our role to make them feel comfortable. It's our role to earn somebody's trust. And I find that in the spiritual world, they have not been taught how to earn respect. It's crazy, right? Because in the business world, I come from the business world, so I know what it takes to earn respect and to earn that medal that you are worthy of gaining that trophy. Or I'm all about the earn your right to get whatever you claim to be. But when spiritual bypassing happens, it's a lot of bullying because they're using these terms that are scary to scare you. But here's the thing. Here's the question. If anybody ever says, well, these are your limiting beliefs, you just have to float higher and pretend it doesn't exist. My thing is, so is it a fear or a limiting belief? Or is it your standards and your core value?
Yeah. Everything feeds off the other, right? It's just everything's connected. We're not fragmented in any way. So that's why you have to step into wholeness, be on a journey of wholeness. And that's when you can really trust. And that's when you really know your truth. And there's so much. We can have so many topics. It's crazy, but yeah, I can speak for hours, but nobody wants to listen to us for hours at a time.
Yeah, but I think it's really important to highlight some of the signs because not
Yeah.
everybody is aware. And that's why it's really important for us to highlight some of the signs, like of when you are being spiritual gaslighted or spiritually
Yes.
bypassed. Because one of the big signs is when you are not seen or heard. If you don't feel
Yes.
seen or heard, there's a very high likelihood you are being bypassed or gaslighted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some gurus will not hear you because they're too busy thinking about themselves and what they need to channel for you and tell you. And they won't even hear your story. They won't even hear what you're feeling. Like, it's about you. It's not about the guru or the coach or the healer. It's not about them. It's about you. And you need to be heard. You need to be seen. You need to be valued. And yeah, you're number one, really. It's about you. Like, can't be about what they're thinking the whole time.
Yeah, that's why if you're not seen or heard, that's a sign.
It's
Another
huge.
another sign is they are pushing something on you.
Yeah.
So you don't feel you have the power to express yourself. So let's say, for example, you're suspicious of something they said, or they said something that doesn't resonate with you. You're too scared to say something,
Yeah.
right?
Never feel scared. You should feel so safe with your coach or with your healer or in a group setting. You should feel safe. You should feel like, yeah, you can trust and you can express. Safe.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing, they make you feel that you can't live without them. Like they're the only ones that can take you to where you need to go.
That's
All
my
these
favorite. My favorite. I love that one. Oh my God. Like, sorry. Here I go. Oh. Mm.
You know what? This is the thing. Before you go and work with somebody that quote unquote channels, right, for information for you, make sure that that person, you know they know what they're doing. Everybody, but you don't know for sure. Like I know for sure, Nancy, you are consciously responsible, because there's an emotional consciousness level here that is required. And a sign that this person that you're going to go see is consciously responsible is if they are asking you a lot of questions and they are actually getting you to repeat yourself so that they understand you.
Mhm.
People that don't ask too many questions, they don't know.
Oh, they need to ask you. Yeah. They like some people will go, especially healers will go with what they're feeling energetically, and great. But I always talk to my clients first and after the session. Like we make sure everything's clear because I don't think I know everything. I mean, like you think you know everything, then yeah, not a good place to be when you're serving people.
No, and that's the thing, getting your clients to speak, it's
Yes.
not for you necessarily, it's for them to hear themselves as well. So
Part of
our
their healing. Yeah.
yes, so our job is get them to hear themselves. And as much as I know, even without you telling me, I will never run with that. I
No.
will run with wherever you are right now so
Yes.
that we can move with you. We're not dragging you. And I find that in the spiritual world, people are being dragged. And
Oh
then
yeah.
I know that because when they come to me, they're so lost and confused because so much of the energetic spiritual world is not measurable, which is very, very dangerous. When somebody, because there's no wrong or right. So when somebody says, I feel things, I don't care, because then I'm going to look at, well, what does your life look like? Are you still struggling to, get everything you want in life? Like, are you still struggling to put food on the table? Are your children suffering? All that type of stuff.
Yeah, has to be both sides together, all sides together. It has to be a journey of wholeness.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are signs. And if something doesn't feel right, it's not because you're scared or you're just set out the intention that you want truth, because truth does set us free.
Oh,
And if you're scared of truth, that's the work, right? Because one of the things also I talk about a lot is in the spiritual world, I call it meditation versus medication. I know when you are numbing yourself with meditation,
yes. Yes. There's a lot of people that do that. Yeah.
but that's not empowerment.
No.
Meditation, if you're using it to survive, great. At least admit it. But don't say you meditate to create, because there's a difference.
You have to take action. I mean, energy does create, but yeah, it can bring awareness. Meditation can really bring you awareness. It can bring you healing as well, because your subconscious, if you work with your subconscious, you can literally heal your cells. You can literally create healing. Your subconscious mind controls all your vital signs, controls your DNA, controls whether you live or die. If you're given a prognosis from a doctor and he says 3 months, a lot of people do shut their bodies down subconsciously
Yep.
at the 3 month mark. So there's a lot of power in meditation or hypnosis, different things. But there's a lot of people that say they meditate and they're super enlightened and they avoid really doing the work. So there's all kinds of escapism there too.
Yeah, that's why I call it medication, not
Yeah.
medication.
Yes, that's right. There's a difference, like you're saying.
There
Mm.
is, yeah. So we have to know the difference. So the whole spiritual world, a lot of them are just medicating, and they're not even taught to meditate properly, or they're not taught. Hypnosis is very powerful because it's purely in the subconscious mind.
Yes.
Um, but again, hypnosis is not really meditation anyways, because
No.
there's
But
an
it's working with the mind.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing. I love hypnosis because my clients, a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of them are hypnotherapy
Yeah. I
type
love
people.
it. A lot of my clients benefit from it. Like,
Oh
I love
yeah.
hypnosis. I'm often in a trance with them. So like, but it's so amazing. I love doing hypnosis, but yeah. So,
Yeah, well, when we're working with clients, we're working on ourselves too. So
oh yeah.
we choose the right clients that are us.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing is toxic positivity. These are some of the tactics that spiritual bypassers they use. So
Yeah.
in order to stay bypassed from the reality, anything we try to avoid or numb or
Yes.
remove, we're fearful.
Yes. Absolutely.
So one of the tactics is medication, numbing from meditation, which is not the right way to meditate. It's not the best way because you're not getting anything but survival. But survival is still good. But don't
Yeah.
fool people. You're still surviving.
Yeah.
The other thing is toxic positivity. They're not listening to why you are the way you are. They're just telling you you can't be anything but what they think you should be.
Yeah. There's shaming and guilting. That's, yeah. There's always a root reason. You got to get to that root in order to change, shift it, transmute it is what you want it to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
What is one thing you hear a lot about in toxic positivity? One of the lines.
You're gonna know right away. It's love and light. So like, I love it if you mean it, but it's the most common thing. Love and light, love and light. I live in love and light. I am love and light, or whatever. It's just love and light. It's a tough one for me. And I think because it's so overused, it's abused by so many. And yes, I do know people that say it and you feel it from them. But yeah, that's the line. It's not, it's not reality for a lot of people. So when you're saying love and light to someone, it's almost like a form of gaslighting in a way, because like it's kind of shaming them if they don't feel that in that moment. So many people are going through so much. And when you're just saying, oh, well, just be love and light, or like, or I wish you love and light. And if you do truly wish that for them and you're praying for them and you're sending them love, awesome. I love it. But if you're just saying it because you want to, like, just, it's a habit, whatever, you don't mean it, it's not from your heart, or it's just a trend. Oh, yeah, that line, I don't like that one that much.
Because you really do live in love and light. So you're insulted when people use the term so loosely.
Yeah, like I live in love and light with my intentions, but I have had pain in my life. And I know life can be tough. The last few weeks have been nuts in my life. Like, but I'm still like, I don't know. I'm just, I'm bringing all the love I can to every situation. But I am human. I've had anger, I've had grief, I've had, overwhelm. I'm human. And then I catch myself and I'm like, I'm going to go do my work. I'm going to go work on myself. I'm going to go take some time for myself, and I'm going to journal, and I'm going to do what I need to do. But yeah, I mean, but if you think you're always love and light, you are spiritual bypassing beyond words. Like, but it is a term, wishing well, for some people, but it's so abused. It is. Like, I have one of my closest friends, Michael, he says love and light all the time. I know he means it. He's in his heart, and I love him to pieces. But like, some people, I'm just can't. Or if I run into someone in my community, and I've been doing this work for over 20 years, so they'll often do a comparison thing like, well, you know what I mean, I've been doing so much spiritual work, and I'm, on that same wavelength as you. And I'm like, who cares? Why are you talking to me about this? And why are you talking about wavelengths? And I don't even know you. I don't even know people. And they come up and do that. And I love them. I know they have good in them, but it's such a trend now to just do this. I'm a Reiki master. I'm a this and that. Yeah. But have you done the work to be responsible in that? Or are you just doing it because everybody else and their dog is doing it now? I mean, I'm all for bringing more healers and people onto the planet to help shift our energy, help people to heal and thrive. But so much of it is ego. And so much of it is spiritual bypassing, because they think if they take the course, they have the certificates, they're good enough, they matter, they are lovable, they are worthy. But if you haven't done the work, that shadow is still haunting you. And it's going to continue to haunt you. I don't care how many certificates you have. I don't care what you call yourself. Your shadow is growing if you haven't done the work. And then you're projecting that crap onto your clients in some way or another, or your loved ones into this world you're projecting. That's like, yeah, so
Yeah,
important to be responsible and to do the work.
it is. So when you have somebody that's not able to speak about negative stuff in an empowered way, because they avoid
Yes.
anything
That's
that's true.
painful. Painful, yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? I get that, because as humans,
Yes.
that's scary when we have to look at our own shit. But
Yeah.
at the same time, when you're out there claiming to help others and your intention is to help others, your responsibility is to look at yourself first. Because
Yeah.
then if we don't see ourselves, we can't see others. How we see ourselves is as the extent that we see others. So anybody that is avoiding truth, like if you're trying to express yourself, one of the major toxic positivity BS that I keep hearing out there with coach, oh, it's bad. It's, well, anything you say something wrong that doesn't fit the mindset shit. For example, if you're saying something and the classic things happen for you. So let's say I'm just expressing myself saying, yeah, I don't, this is what a coach did to me once, and that was hilarious because I'm actually having to coach him on money blocks, major money blocks, major. But yet he talks about how he attracts abundance. It's bad, but and I know why. And then I was talking to him, and then I said something like, well, I don't choose to take people for their money if I don't think that they have the capability of recovering. Like, you know what I mean? I don't put people in debt if I know how far their limitations are.
Yeah, of course.
I don't mind the debt if I know I can take them out of it, but I would never leave them there. And he's like, oh, well, you see, that's your limiting belief. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
No, that's being responsible.
Yeah, but he's like, that's your limiting belief. Because you got to change your words, Susan. And if you change your words, then you don't see that. And I'm like, in what goddamn world do you fucking live in? I was like, seriously, after you have just exposed your money blocks like crazy, you're throwing a mindset line on me to correct something I said. And I'm like, wow, this is the world like, this is the coaching world now. And, unfortunately, it's overshadowed so many good ones out there. So many good practitioners in the spiritual world, so many good coaches in the coaching world. And these people that are using spiritual bypassing and toxic positivity to turn everybody off from even wanting to help people. Literally, I have coaches coming, it's like, Susan, there was once a time I really wanted to help people until I started seeing what people were doing to people. And I didn't want to be involved in this area anymore. And it's so sad, isn't it?
Yeah, it is sad. And you know what? All the courses I took for hypnosis and NLP and all the mindset stuff, they do talk about the limiting beliefs subconsciously. And it's a term that's so common. And yet I have used it with people before. I've used it, but it's because there are some beliefs that, they're all like, they are fear-based. They are related to trauma or wounds from the past. They're related to the mental programming people have received and stuff. But it's the meaning you put to that can sometimes really belittle someone. Like, it can really paint the term in a big way, like, so I get what you're saying. And it's true. Like, they're looking to jab you with it. Like, if you're saying something and meanwhile, it's just truth. Like, it's not even like, truth is truth. And what you said is being responsible. Why would you leave anyone in debt? There are people that can't afford certain things. And yeah, you want to help them to thrive and grow, but you're not going to make them go further into debt and be more stressed. How's that going to help them? So,
and that's the thing. I think these are some of the clues you're right about when you're coming up against toxic positivity or spiritual bypassing. These are the signs. When you see these signs, step back a bit, because one of the things that we need to learn when we're trying to advance in the world of personal growth or healing is, number one, discernment. Oh my gosh, we could hold an 8-week course on how to discern as a woman, right? Because we trust everybody. This is why we're so like there are so many cracks in our heart. There are so many cracks in our heart.
Yeah, we want to nurture and save everyone, but there are men like that too.
Of course.
There are men like that. Yeah, it's unreal. Like very masculine men that I know. And yeah, they're like that too. Like it could be anyone really, but yeah.
Discernment is something we need to learn. And
Oh
what
yeah.
discernment is, being able to discernment is a very high level of empowerment, by the way. When you could look at the negative and the positive to evaluate without the emotions,
Yes.
this is discernment. I could see all the Nancy's negatives. I could see all your negatives. I could see all your positives, but I don't look at there's no judgment or feeling. It's you. So what am I going to say, right? But I also know that discernment leads me to decision making, because if we don't discern, we're always working on the what if I'm wrong. But when you discern, you're making a decision based on all the facts. That's a very, very powerful empowerment thing to learn. And that's key. If you want to avoid the spiritual bypassers and toxic positive people and the coaches and the healers that are really, they need to do their own work. Discernment is the only way you can see it. And don't feel bad, because a lot of people, especially as women, we feel so bad to think negatively about them in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to see the good in everyone. That's how humans are typically. But you also have to feel it in your body. Your body doesn't lie either. So your intuition, you have to learn how to know that it's your intuition. There's intuition and there's the emotional aspect, but your intuition is like a gut punch, a gut feeling. It's powerful, very powerful. If you're just in your head, then you're not necessarily able to fully discern. If you're going with both, like everything together within you, then that's true empowerment for sure. Like to really be able to discern. So you take the facts and your gut punch, your gut feeling.
Correct. And when you're discerning, the end goal is to do what you feel is right for you,
Yes.
regardless of what it does to another person. And like the client I'm working with this week, she keeps saying, well, I don't want to hurt that person. Yeah, but you need to stand up for your rights as a human being. So for you to say no, yes, it might hurt the other person, but hey, that's when you say no and you set boundaries and that other person is hurt, they deserve to be hurt then. Okay, that's their problem, not ours.
That's how they perceive it. That's how they digest it.
Yeah.
You have to do what's right for you. You're only responsible for your life, not responsible for how other people perceive the choices you make. You have to take care of you. It's non-negotiable if you're going to live a good life. It's non-negotiable if you're going to be on your deathbed going, oh man, I wish I would have lived my life for me instead of what everyone else wanted from me or how everyone else wanted me to be. It's too important. You have to say no when you need to say no. It is what it is. And no is a full sentence. You don't have to go off on a tangent for 3 hours. It's okay to just say no. It's okay. Or set energetic boundaries if you're not safe to address that person. Sometimes you have to get out of it completely without even speaking to them, like depending on the situation. I've been in all kinds of weird situations. So I'm like in my head going, okay, well, at that time I couldn't approach that person because, he was crazy or whatever, like he was abusive, whatever. So you just have to, just say no, however you have to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. The only way is setting those boundaries without guilt, right? Guilt-free. And I think the last thing that I've noticed that one of the tools that we teach for that empowerment and to avoid the bypassers is what I call modern alchemy. My mindset in the whole world of growth is every single shit that shows up for me, I look at it like, oh my gosh, thank God, gratitude, because now I know the truth. Now I know what to change. So I change anything negative into positive. I don't avoid the negative. I don't try to put whipped cream and strawberries on top of dog shit to hide it, right? And I taught this to my 9-year-old nephews last week, and they're like, Auntie Sue, what do you mean strawberries and whipped cream on poop, right? And I said, yeah, when you feel bad, but you try to pretend that it doesn't exist, and you just pretend that you're happy, but inside you're not. You're putting whipped creams and strawberry on poop. And then one of my nephews, because they're twins, and he goes, "Oh yeah, it's still poop though, Auntie Sue. Yes, it's still poop."
Got the message. So cute.
He got the message, right? And I'm like,
so
dang, a 9-year-old could get it.
Oh yeah, they're so smart. They're so smart. Way less tainted than most of us adults have been. But yeah, it's so powerful. Well, it's like when we host our retreats, and we haven't done one since like live in person since before COVID, but it's real, it's raw. You're going within, you're going deep. Everybody's welcome with everything they're feeling. It's not unicorns pooping glitter. It's not anything like that. It is doing the work. And like it's so important. And people automatically feel safe at the retreats because they know they're welcomed without negative judgment or, any diminishing of what they're feeling. We're embracing humanity. We're embracing humanness. We're embracing the divinity, all aspects, but working on the shadow. So, it's so important because I know of retreats like the yogis are teaching, and some of them, not all of them, obviously, some are doing the deep work, but it's all about the unicorns and the fairy dust and only good vibes. Well, how about real vibes? How about raw vibes? That's where we grow. That's where we learn. That's where we deeply connect. And that's where we love. It's non-negotiable. We have to do it to live our best lives.
So
I'm all about unifying humanity. I love that. But we have to do the work in order to unify. Like the Love Tsunami challenge that I have that's free, that's coming out. It's a 7-day journey of new meditation every day, but they're deep meditations. And you keep it for life because I'm like, you're not going to be done in 7 days. This is my gift to humanity, to do the work and to unify. You can't just, oh, okay, we're all one. Well, if you have the shadow and you haven't embraced yourself yet, you're not going to feel like we're all one. It's a facade then,
Well,
anyway, sorry, tangent again.
this is you're right though, right? And here's the thing with saying you're one with, or one with humanity, or you're in the 5D level rather than 3D and all that kind of BS, because somebody that's in that level of consciousness doesn't need to pitch it. Okay. It's like,
that's right.
Right? Somebody that has true class and true embodiment of whatever they are, they don't need to convince themselves, nor do they need to convince anybody.
Well, people will feel it from you. They'll know, even if just energetically, soulfully. They may not consciously know, but they'll feel safe.
So rather than talking, all spiritual bypassers there and people that are victims to that, when people talk too much without showing you, because I believe in showing you. I believe in no matter who we are, whether you're Susan or Nancy or anybody else, we still need to earn your respect and trust. Yes. We are not here to demand it. If you are not trusting us, it's because we haven't done a good enough job to show you. And everybody is entitled to that, to earn trust.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely. Can't be pressured into anything. Like never ever allow anyone to pressure you into anything.
No. And spiritual bypassing and toxic positivity is a form of spiritual bullying. Anybody with self-respect would never teach you to avoid what is already a part of you. And this is where I call a painful existence. To me, a painful existence is not physical pain. It's being disconnected with your truth. That is the worst existence alive. Because you're waking up.
That can cause the physical pain. That can cause all kinds of pain. Your body doesn't lie, but it's pain for sure.
It's pain. So to stop the pain, let's just learn how to see the truth, live in the truth in the way that you need to, slowly. Some people need fast, some people need slow. But here's the one thing, the gift that I chose, the path that I chose in my 20s, when I went into the sales world, I learned how to read my audience first. Stop talking before you know who you're talking to. And this is the thing with the spiritual world, even the coaching world, but let's talk about the spiritual world. They're not taught to influence. They're not taught to do it consciously. They're not taught to sell a concept through the eyes of somebody else. This is not me pushing an agenda for you to do something. This is for us to understand what your limits are so we can nudge you outside of them, not explode you into outer space of fear, right? This is why we live in a world of very confused people. They don't know their audience.
Yeah. And if they don't know their audience, then they're just talking to everybody that's why you have to know who you want to work with, like when you are a coach or you're doing healing work. But I do believe who's meant to come to you will work with you, no matter what. I do believe that. And a lot of people don't realize that they are spiritual bypassing. So there's like key ways to know that you are, because it's such a subconscious thing.
Yep.
And yes, I used to do it. And sometimes I probably still do it. Don't catch myself. We're all human. But the worst thing you can tell yourself is that you can't handle something. You can't handle life. You're not strong enough. You're not built for it. You are very strong. But the only reason you feel like you're not is because there's so much built up pain from the past, or beliefs that aren't serving you from the past, right? That people have projected onto you from their shadows as well. So when you think you can't handle something, you will avoid it. So that's where you're going to likely choose spiritual bypassing or addiction somehow, things that aren't really helping you to go within to face that pain. And yes, it's scary. So sometimes you might need to hire a coach, or, join something where you have that support, like a membership group, or see a healer that you trust. And, people tell themselves they can't handle life. You're built for it. Trust me, you can handle it. You just need the right help, the right guidance to get there and to clear the stuff that's holding you back, the shadow that's holding you down. Yes, I speak like I'm French. I'm not French, but anyway. Another thing that a lot of people say, oh, I hear it constantly, is I'm too sensitive. I'm an empath. I'm a highly sensitive person. I can't deal with the heavy energy. I can't deal with anger. I can't deal with grief because I'm too sensitive. I'm not built for that because I'm so sensitive. Well, you're going to have to, because otherwise you're going to be building that shadow, which is going to screw you over. And that's where you're going to think empathy is an actual curse. So that's where you might see yourself going, oh, I avoid that person, or I avoid that situation because I'm too sensitive. Well, maybe you need to go within and deal with the pain that you're carrying before you start labeling yourself too much as an empath or highly sensitive person. It's a popular term these days. And that's where a lot of people are like, I'm an empath. I need to shine my light, and I need to be this certain enlightened person in society because I'm so gifted as an empath. Well, you're still human, honey. So you're going to have to go inside and deal with that shadow work. Okay. So it's a label that's escapism as well. So, and then of course, diminishing humanness, labeling your emotions as, like, your feelings as bad or good. And if you're constantly labeling yourself and others, you're shaming yourself, you're shaming others, you're building the shadow within yourself and one another and in our collective consciousness, our collective world. So it's causing more suffering everywhere. So it's like, stop labeling your emotions as bad or good. You're human. You're meant to feel different emotions. I've had grief in my life. My gosh, when my dad was suffering, I had anticipatory grief for 10 years. I had severe grief when he passed. There's so much going on all the time. Like, you've got to acknowledge that stuff and work with it, not suppress it, because it will come out, trust me, in some kind of diagnosis or dysfunction within your being, within your life. So you got to deal. And then another way is the illusion. My life's an illusion, and that's an illusion. My trauma's an illusion. Everything's an illusion. No, okay. It's not an illusion. Don't escape that way. Go within, deal with the situation, deal with it. If you've lost someone, do the grief work. Hire someone to help you through it if you can't. Get a beautiful course from a good person that you trust, a really responsible individual who created a course on grief. Or, you gotta do the work. And I know it's painful. Trust me, I know grief is painful, because that's where I did some of my bypassing. Okay, like when my dad was suffering, Luke and I would be so busy, I would work myself to death. And when I was alone with my dad, I'd play Frank Sinatra for him, and I would cry because he loved Frank, and he would cry, I'd cry. And that's very few times that I would allow myself to break like that, because I'd be strong for him and everybody else. So I did a lot of bypassing with work and, yeah, spiritual stuff too. I had so many crystals. I still have my crystals. I love them. I believe there's power in them, but you still have to do the work. You still have to. And another way that you'll notice that you're bypassing is when you're projecting onto others. So when you're projecting your pain onto other people, or something happens you blame outside of you, you've got to just take responsibility. Projecting, stop projecting onto other people and blaming them and blaming the world around you, and go inside. So if you're doing any of those things, you are bypassing somehow. So I know it's scary. It's hard, and there's probably years of it built up. So it seems like a bigger job than ever. But once you start, you're going to start to already feel lighter. You're going to already start to feel more liberated and connect to who you really are. And when you start to do more of that work and go deeper, and if you need a coach or a counselor or a healer, do that. Don't do it alone if you feel like you can't. Like, most people can't. Most people need some help along the journey, because it can be dark, it can be heavy. But don't let that scare you. It's worth it, because you don't want to be on your deathbed saying, gosh, I wish I would have lived my life. I wore a mask smiling when I was dying inside, like just to be acceptable and not to be a negative person or, a draining individual or a burden to society. We're all in this together. We truly are. And you're not alone. And you do have power within you that you just need to recognize. And that's where we take you. It's not that you can't live without us. You need to live with you and the truth of who you are. And you are just as powerful as anybody else, really.
And here's the thing, we have to help you, lead you back to you.
Yeah.
Because of spiritual bypassing, because of the whole industry of self-help, I've seen more people being taken away from their own heart and intuition than closer. And I think the only thing that we think is really important here, Nancy, it's so important, I find this really important, is the only work you need to do is just to be able to be heard and seen. The reason why our emotions overtake us and we start thinking we're too sensitive and all that, because it's true, number one, you're right. You are too sensitive. You are too overpowered by everything and taken over by too much energy. But the only reason why you've fallen into that imbalanced state is because there's one part that you have not developed, which is your thinking. It's your thinking mind. It's your conscious mind. It's underdeveloped. It's what I call emotional immaturity. And this is why we need to mature that emotion. Hey, if you have all these emotions, it means you're very powerful because this is your lie detector, right?
Yeah.
But if nobody gave you the instruction manual to how you use this powerful tool, then you need to go get the instruction manual, which is this. It's how do you understand yourself on an emotional level? It's called emotional intelligence. And that's where I sit. I teach people not to be less sensitive. I teach them to understand themselves so they can be empowered by their emotions, not disempowered.
Yes, exactly. You feel and you heal and you don't get stuck. I think a lot of sensitive people, and everyone has sensitivity, whether they're aware of it or not, it can be awakened within you. A lot of people have had so much trauma build up, right? So they're even more afraid when they feel something because feeling's been painful. Emotions have been painful. So it's scary. And that's why a lot of people avoid school or they avoid their workplace or they avoid like life in general because there's so much built up inside. And you can start, even if you don't want to talk at first, you can start to open up those energetic channels through the energy healing, through spiritual healing and guidance. You don't even have to talk at first. I've had clients where they're like, I don't even want to speak. I don't want to speak right now. And I'm like, okay, so let's start with the healing, like energy healing. And then they start to talk because the energy, they're starting to come into balance energetically too. So everything feeds off the other. We're so not fragmented, but if you don't have control of your mind, and it's like society's taking control of our minds, right? So it's hard to get there. You have to have everything work together.
Absolutely. And here's one clue. And unless, I'm sorry to say, there's only one major measure of how well you are doing on the consciousness level, and it's not how you feel, because we fool ourselves. Because of spiritual bypassing, because of toxic positivity, we are faking the happiness. So we actually believe our own lies, right?
Yes.
So when somebody says, well, I want to feel this way, this is my goal, that's not a goal. Sorry, it's not measurable. Okay. Because I could bully you into believing that you're happy when you're not. The only measurable way in this world of how well you're doing is your relationship with money and how much wealth you have. And when I say wealth, it's whatever you deem as wealthy for yourself. If you have issues or not happy with your money situation, that's a big gauge. But in spiritual bypassing, they say, well, money is energy. Money is not important. All that BS.
You need money to survive. And you can help others when you have more money. You can help those homeless people. You can help anyone you want when you have money. Money is energy, but it's also physical. It's also, we need it. We need it to survive.
Absolutely. So the moment I remember walking away from that whole community of spiritual, and I just created my own spiritual world. I wanted to create a spiritual world where money and abundance goes hand in hand. And how I measure how well I'm doing is how much wealth I'm attracting to me by doing the right things. It's not hurting people for it. It's not taking advantage of people for it. But that's the work. You need to be able to raise your vibration to that abundance level, because you need to raise your vibration to a high level to attract money and abundance. And that's just the way it is. So unless you don't want money as the measure, but not taking money, not robbing a bank, I'm not talking about on the highest consciousness, then you're ready for the work. Otherwise, we're not here to say you're going to feel better and not even have any. We will prove. I love proving to people with proof and not just with words.
Yeah, no, it's true, because your level of abundance is actually equal to your level of self-worth. And that's abundance in everything. Your abundance with your wealth, but also with the love you're able to give and receive. Your ability to even receive is huge in your level of abundance. Huge. If you can't receive, you're going to be struggling in so many ways with your wealth, with everything, with every aspect of your life. So yeah, it all correlates. Absolutely. Huge.
And with that, I think we can finish our chat about spiritual bypassing. Like you said, this is a long subject, and it does trickle onto other subjects that we're going to talk about.
Everything's related. Yeah. Huge.
But you know what? Here, I hope that we've given enough proof or evidence of when you're up against spiritual bypassing, or whether you're doing it yourself, it's not a good vibration to be at. Because, but now that I always give everybody the benefit of the doubt that you're not aware.
No, it's mostly, everything's mostly subconscious, really.
Yeah. But if you are aware, do something about it, because that's not good vibration. It's not good karma we're creating in the world, because we're promoting lies, and that's not good.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
No, that's right. Yeah. Escapism doesn't liberate you. That's for sure. It's not at all. You can journal, you can see a counselor, a coach, or a healer that you trust. You can do the deep meditations. You can get hypnosis. That's super transformative. Different things that you can do to start working on getting rid of this habit of spiritual bypassing and facing the shadow and what you're really feeling and releasing it.
Yep. So there we go with spiritual bypassing. Thank you, Nancy, for sharing all your wisdom around this, because it is the most freeing thing. And stay tuned for our next episodes on anything that has to do with truth, because this is about to get real. But thank you so much, Nancy, for sharing, and thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you so much. We love you all. Bless you all.
Thank you.